Well, perfect. Welcome, everyone. We're really pleased to have you joining us live for this session. We're going to start in about a minute or so, but in the meantime, um, I just wanted to let you know that I'm Juana. I'm your host today. I'm joined by my colleague Rita, and we have a very special guest. So, Gavin McLafferty from Subsea 7 is here with us. He is an innovation lead within his organization, and we have the extreme privilege of being able to ask him a few questions about how he is using some of the recent AI features that we've developed. As we wait for everyone to connect, I'd just like to remind you about how you might want to interact with us. You don't have to, but it's definitely helpful if you ask us questions. That's what we're here for today. Please use either the chat, so do type in your questions, and we will take a look at them a little bit later on, because first we have a showcase for you. And then, of course, if you'd like to engage in a lively conversation with us, you're also welcome to unmute yourselves. But please do not do that before we finish the presentation, just so that we can allow everyone to focus on the animations that we've prepared for you. We have quite a few, and I hope they will help demonstrate exactly what we've been thinking about and especially developing in the past months and even years, because some of these features have been in our backlogs for a very long time. Good, then I think without further ado, I will just start the walkthrough for you. We have about 60 minutes in total, but this includes the Q&A part. So I hope we'll be able to maximize the time we spend together today. Well, good. The first thing that I wanted to mention to you is perhaps something about my vantage point in this conversation. Some of you might have worked with me before. Some of you might have seen some of the content that I've helped publish. I'm not 100% an AI expert, but I am part of the Hype consulting team. And more recently, I am part of the Hype product management team. What this gives me is a unique perspective on the latest developments. So I help translate some of the features that you have been wanting for us to integrate, or that you're hoping we might integrate into the tool. I also help search for external use cases, and generally I'm more concerned with best practice. So I'm the type of profile that will help develop innovation programs in tandem with you. So I do have a lot of time that I spend on these conversations. We go back and forth, and eventually we do develop a feature. That is precisely why today we decided to make this session a bit of a blend. We have a technical side, but certainly we have also a conversation around what you will see on screen. We try to focus on real challenges, so real things that matter to you in your ideation journey, but also very much beyond that. And I'm looking forward to showing you how AI, or at least a specific AI feature, can help you support the fuzzy front end of your work, but also very much the value capture. So what happens after we've triaged our ideas? How can we maybe visualize them, or how can we create some meaningful decisions out of them? I guess the main reason why we're talking about this and why we are all here today is because, and here I will state really the obvious, a lot of leaders and a lot of professionals like yourselves, your teams, face clutter. It's unavoidable. The problem is that the clutter, when it refers to ideas, to pieces of knowledge that you've collected over time, is practically endless. So in translation, that just means that you have a lot of disorganized data. That leads to slow processes. You might have disconnected systems. So you might use data from different places. You try to put all of that together. Of course, maybe immediately doesn't seem to be an issue, right? You do some firefighting, but further down the line, it really impacts your decision making. And probably worst of all, it results in little return on innovation investment. At least from my standpoint, that is probably the most problematic issue, because you never really get to show that ideas can turn into value. And sometimes you might even have some of your programs limited or stopped altogether because you are unable to demonstrate that value. So I guess what we want to showcase for you today, at least through the little demonstrations, is that an AI feature, but probably in combination with something else as well. For example, the innovation graph. So a model that you can use can help tackle these issues head on, right? So clutter and everything that follows from the clutter can actually be solved with machine learning. And we're very excited to bring that over to you. My sincere hope is that by the end of the webinar, you'll see that AI, but in combination, of course, with your own experience and with very good application areas, can be really a genuine sidekick. You can call them a co-pilot or whatever you'd like, but if you use it correctly and consistently, it will bring you results. So maybe diving a little bit deeper into the different fronts that you're working on right now. So let's say that we're going a bit more granular from this clutter issue, but okay, what kind of clutter? I mean, when we use that word, we refer to a lot of repetitive tasks that you might need to do. These can be also these mundane, boring tasks that you might have been able to automate. With AI, you can take that to an entirely new level. More interestingly, is that you can help surface hidden connections. It's not something that we can easily do, especially if we have multiple sources of data, like I mentioned in the beginning. So imagine that some of the data comes from your campaigns and channels. Other data comes from trends, technologies you've collected over time. You might have market insights, you might have all sorts of generic submissions. It's very difficult to really get a grasp of everything that's happening, especially for a mature program. But the good news is that AI really helps overcome those common obstacles, right? We'll focus today especially on how you can improve low quality ideas, maybe spotting trends in the data, and certainly trying to avoid all the manual data sifting that you've been doing over time, just to see if this can be sped up a little bit more. Because the truth is that there is really a plethora of things out there. Our solutions are only a subset of a larger package of solutions that you might already use in your work. So what we've integrated into the Hype tool is only really a portion of what you use every day. You have all sorts of other use cases, and you use them probably maybe not even knowing that they're powered by AI. This session, for example, that we are part of is also being transcribed with the help of AI. You use that every day when you utilize dictation software. It's also a very nice complement to your innovation program, to any ideation work that you might do every day. Then you have all sorts of methodologies of customizing, or sometimes you have AI models that help you select between options. If you're into new product development, you might be aware of those. Decision making, to some of you, perhaps you're from the financial industry, you know that trading can be automated to some extent. You can run all sorts of SWOT analyses and so forth. Content generation, data management, the spam filters that you use, perhaps in the context of your email, but outside of it. All of these can give you a lot of enhancements. They can also help diagnose perhaps problems with your innovation program. But all in all, that's a big choice. So what I would like to show you and as follows is how you can make an informed choice about what you use and how some simple, straightforward features can really help you get through the day. So helping you as innovation managers, as innovation campaign managers, channel managers, just to progress at a faster pace, be a little bit more accurate, and be more data informed as well. All of the features that we have in the showcase for you actually lean heavily on this side. A panorama before we dive into each of them. We have 4 more front-end features that we want to present you or remind you of today. So some of you might already be using these. We have an AI campaign coach, and we'll see in a moment what the AI coach does. This is practically to help enhance the campaign descriptions, and it's based actually on some of our best practice in consulting. So we listen and we observe how you develop the campaign descriptions, and then we try to architect that into the tool. We have an AI idea generator function. This is more to help develop seed ideas. complemented by a similarity search. You might already know the similarity search, but what you might not know is that this can also be enhanced on the back end, so we can help augment not just the seed ideas, we can help augment the actual ideas that we will welcome into our campaigns and channels. And we have the web clipper as well. So a feature designed to help extract content from the websites that we frequently visit. That's one array of features. And then we also have an AI evaluator summary function. This will be released, I think, in just a little under 2 weeks, so it will be soon available. But this actually helps. And I see there's a little typo here. Actually, it helps provide a summary of the ideas for the purpose of evaluation. Then finally, perhaps the most exciting part is that we have the innovation graph. And I'm very pleased to have Gavin with us today because Gavin will actually provide a bit of a showcase of how he has used the innovation graph at Subsea 7. We'll just enter into a conversation about how that has worked out. Good. Well, let's go back to the first array. So let's see a little bit how these features can help you really push through on that front end. So again, we're talking about the fuzzy front end of ideas, right? These features are meant both for the individual contributor as well as for someone who helps manage campaigns and channels in the back end. So it helps both architect these innovation activities, but it also helps the individual contributor make a more informed contribution and maybe correct some of the mistakes or even maybe bypass some of the barriers that they're experiencing. The first feature that I wanted to show you, and I hope the video is playing correctly, is the AI campaign coach. As you can see here, the problem that the coach is trying to solve is that we have a very time-consuming, sometimes inconsistent campaign setup issue. This, of course, is not the reality of all innovation managers, but often if we want to collect ideas in the form of a campaign, perhaps we start from scratch, so there is no template that we're leaning upon, and we want to go beyond a simple setup, then under the advanced function, we can actually leverage a little bit of AI. And what the AI does is that it takes a little bit of information from you, and then it uses that information to help articulate a coherent campaign description. It doesn't need a lot to work really well, but it does need you to focus on some of the key questions. And these are the questions that we have extracted from the best practice. For those of you that have worked with us in the past, you might remember the campaign writing exercise. You might know canvases that we've shared with you over time. And certainly you might recognize some of the questions from the canvases. So the way the AI works is that with the help of this input, it will help generate some really, really nice results. The results will come in the form of a title, a description, and a teaser for your campaign, and it provides really an excellent point for really the launch of your communication activities. As you know, a campaign description can be and should probably be refined several times. This just gives you an opportunity to do that without starting with a blank sheet of paper. So the benefit really is that it helps maintain quality messaging with, let's say, minimal effort on your side. And it helps you really go into the nice direction with what it is that you want to share with your employees. Of course, like with every type of AI-generated content, you're able to refine this description. So you also see here in the upper right corner a little area that says try all again. So you can actually redo the process, perhaps with different inputs, and see if the result is slightly different. But otherwise, you can simply continue to the campaign wizard, which will then help you put in the right settings. So the AI doesn't tell you, for example, what kinds of thresholds you need to use for the hot status and so on. It is genuinely focused on the campaign description because we know that this is an immense hurdle usually for innovation managers. Just to remind you, if you have questions or if some of this is intriguing, leave us a comment in the chat. I cannot see the chat at this time, so I will look at that a little bit later because I would love to follow up and to maybe explain a little bit more what is happening and how this all works. Good. So AI campaign coach, extremely helpful as we're starting to architect the campaign. Now, another feature that I wanted to introduce you today is the AI idea generator. The AI idea generator actually helps generate seed ideas. It does so in a very quirky way, and it's of course meant to help get past another blank canvas moment. We talked just a moment ago about the campaign description. We start blank and we don't even know what to write there. We don't even know what kinds of headings to write. Here, a similar issue, but with regards to what kinds of ideas should the contributors be submitting in the first place. So what is the kind of quality threshold that we're looking for? The product team at Hype has been looking into this quite a bit, and it's very nice to see that we can also manipulate a little bit the level of creativity of the seed ideas. But as always, the seed ideas are based on the content that is readily available. So the AI will look at the context of the campaign very carefully, and then it will decide what kinds of ideas are appropriate in the context of that campaign. As you can notice in the animation, we set these very simple thresholds for a little bit. We wait for the AI to do a little bit of magic, and then voila, we have already 3 seed ideas, which help really drive us forward in our efforts. Of course, as previously mentioned, you can edit the seed ideas, so they don't have to stay the way they are. Maybe you're concerned about one of the pictures used, or maybe the title is not quite there, but you do not have to lean on necessarily an innovation expert or to go the extra mile to provide a little bit of early content for your employees. The main benefit, of course, is that if we provide some seed ideas, and this is a best practice that we iterate a lot, it sparks creativity. So literally, it increases participation. If there is a bit like a precedent, if you have a little bit of content that is shared ahead of time, once again, your contributors, your authors, will know what you are expecting from them, at least in terms of what kinds of fields do they need to fill out, what is the complexity level of the submissions. And then usually we see the campaign picking up speed much faster. Now, moving beyond the idea generator, something that is valuable a little bit further down the line. So if we think about our journey as a bit like a funnel, so first we architect the campaign, we welcome some of the seed ideas, and then ultimately our community comes in, so our audience is live. But a frequent problem that we notice at this stage is that inevitably we have a lot of duplicate ideas. Maybe we have some missed connections between ideas. Not everyone will read through what has previously been posted before posting their own contribution. And well, often we need revisions. So this feature was actually designed to help tackle the issues that I just described for you. And it's actually a combination of a feature that was already available. So you can see here on the right-hand side that as soon as you start typing in a title, even better, as soon as you have a description as well, you have on the bar some matches. So the system will be able to tell you if what you are thinking about, or at least typing up, is somewhat related to whatever already exists on the platform. And that is done on 2 fronts. So on the one hand, you have similar objects. On the other hand, you have similar, or well, not similar, but suggested users. So these might be users that have some connection to the theme that you're handling. You can, of course, review these similar objects and make the bar go away. You can hide it, and then you can continue with your work. As is shown here, you might type in your description, and then the AI will actually help you elaborate on that description. So you might start with just really a very short version of what it is that you want to say. and then the AI will help you elaborate or expand on that. Certainly, that is also open to edits, and then you're able to even select between different options. So we either provide the possibility for you to rerun everything, or you have the possibility to just select one option. Something that I would stress just as a best practice is the fact that we do mention here that a text was enhanced by AI. This is something that I do recommend that you leave in. Of course, you can take that out so that it's not like a sticky note of some sort, but it does help create a lot of transparency around your process. So if you do use the AI functions, we would want you to highlight them just for the benefit of your entire community. And then, of course, the rest of the idea submission process remains unchanged. It's only the campaign description that we edit here. I mean, the rest of the categories you will select yourself, so giving you a little bit more control over your submission. And of course, at the end of the day, your idea is shared and enters the system. You can go back to edit your idea entirely, no problem at all. But the benefit here is that this feature helps consolidate people's efforts. So it really helps you get past that initial roadblock. Maybe time is better spent. And at least when you're working in a team, this could be extremely beneficial. Well, good. So we've already looked at three of these more front-end features. There's one more that I'd like to show you before we go on to the valorization backend. And this is a quite simple feature. We call it exactly what it is. So we call it the web clipper. And the role of the web clipper really is to help you bring in data from the external world. So in a way, you could say it's a very, very lightweight form of importing data, or maybe even of open innovation. So you are looking at external sources, and then you want to summarize those sources. That could be, for example, on a website, or you're looking at one of your favorite authors, and you'd like to bring in what they say directly into Hype. You have a special button here that you can embed into your browser, and then you can actually create summaries based on what is being shown on the web page. Now, something that I'd like to draw your attention towards here is that as soon as you decide to clip a piece of content, you will be asked whether that piece of content should be transported, or let's say translated into your Hype system as either an insight, a trend, or a technology. So this gives you quite a lot of possibilities. And hopefully then this piece of content ends up in the right place. And then later on, you'll be able to manipulate the content as you please. So simple, straightforward, and really a pathway for you to make this connection between the internal and the external world. Great for knowledge capture, quick knowledge capture, I might say, and easy referencing. That's the main part that we wanted to cover here. So we do encourage you to use it. And if you haven't tried already, we'd love to get your feedback and to see how this is helping you solve some of the data problems, or maybe the data insourcing. Perfect. So we've seen the fuzzy front end. We've looked at how to put together campaign descriptions in a more coherent way based on particular headings. We looked at how you can help generate seed ideas, at how you can enhance existing ideas, or well, not existing ideas, but ideas that you are just about to submit. We have the web clipper, and now it's on to probably the most interesting part, and probably the most valuable part, at least as you are, at least as far as you are concerned, which is more on the valorization side. So what happens on the structured backend? What kinds of features can we use as we are sieving through ideas and trying to create value out of those ideas? The feature that I wanted to present you is not available yet, so I wasn't able to create a nice animation. But nevertheless, you have here already a preview, a visualization of a simple and powerful solution, or the solution is connected to the problem of decision-making bottlenecks. We see this really, really often. There are too many attachments or discussions. Sometimes an idea description only provides part of the information that you need to evaluate that particular piece of knowledge. And it's very difficult for an evaluator to wrap their head around everything that was sent in. The feature is meant to help a very specific role on the platform, which is that of the evaluator. So if someone is being given that task, if they are being put into that role in the context of a campaign or channel, then they will be able to access an automatically generated summary of the idea, and this helps them run the evaluation. So for the moment, there is no automation of the evaluation itself. That's something that I'm working on actually, and together with the product team, we're very excited to be developing over the next few months. So we do expect that at one point in time, we will have some more integrations in the idea board, so you will be able to leverage a little bit of AI when it comes to triaging your ideas, and why not? Maybe also in the scorecard. So when we're helping provide a second opinion, let's say, on the selection of the ideas. But this is the first step, and a step that works really well. So the summary is available here at the top, and it is quickly generated as evaluators go through their tasks. The benefit, of course, is, as with the other features, first and foremost, speed, but it's also accuracy because no crucial info is missed. So all of this is really informed by data, and the AI takes everything into consideration, not just maybe the headline or the title of the idea, which is sometimes what human evaluators do. So they might dismiss something because it is not organized properly as a submission. And then probably the main feature that we wanted to focus on today, and one that has been in the works for a very long time, which we're very, very excited to bring to you, is the innovation graph. So the innovation graph solves a problem that is probably way beyond the context of a singular campaign or channel. Leaders, professionals like yourselves manage a maze of these external data. We mentioned it several times already today. This data is very hard to interpret. It's really hard to wrap our heads around all those titles and descriptions and different types of sources that we have available. Without the help of some form of automation, of some form of clustering, if we're not able to label these pieces of data correctly, to group them, we really cannot derive any insights. So the visualization, so the tool that was developed in this context is all the more powerful because it solves such a deep problem. As you can see here, the visualization is really comprehensive, so we can visualize up to 5,000 objects, which is extremely, extremely unique. We are able to dive into any particular object that we see, and basically we have a really comprehensive and big picture of everything that's been collected on our platform, right? So it could be trends, it could be insights, it could be ideas, and they're being grouped per theme. I really encourage everyone to try this out and to see a little bit the level of granularity that you can arrive at. Certainly, you do that with the help of filters. So here on the right-hand side, you see lots of options because you can filter by type of object. You can look at types of data. So you might toggle between external signals, all content, maybe content that is coming from your partnering module. This assumes that you have multiple connected modules, that you don't only use ideation. The previous features actually only referred to the ideation module. And once you make your selection, you can change the way that the data is visualized, but you can also use a variety of charts, and then you can use the charts in turn to do a deep dive. Like you see here, we're looking into the artificial intelligence research technology cluster or area, and then we can move faster between our subjects. This is especially useful for specialists who are looking to navigate the different content types and to just find what they are looking for. Perfect. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that. And I think this is a great moment for us to jump into a conversation because I'd really like to speak with you, Gavin, about how you have used the innovation graph. And I'll also take a look in the meantime in the chat, and we'll start reacting to some of the questions and maybe comments that we've received.
Thanks very much, Joanna. What a great run through and a great overview. It's a pleasure to kind of connect with people today on this call. So as Joanna said, I've been working with Subsea 7 in this area for some time. We've used Hype for many, many years, and they have such a fantastic platform. And just as the AI space has evolved, Hype have continued to evolve their platform to add more functionality that kind of help us to unlock some of the insights that in the past, as innovation managers and business improvement managers, was difficult to surface. So with the innovation graph, what we've been able to do is some really incredible things. And I'm quite excited to share those with you. So one of those things, as almost like a curator, is it's difficult or it was difficult in the past to talk about what are some of the themes that came out of this campaign or this idea channel or the insights that are being shared. And what that allows that to do is to create these really nice articulated clusters and show connections between these different points. And as we start to explore these, what's really amazing is you can start to look at your innovation portfolio and understand, are there gaps in our portfolio? What does our roadmap look like for this year? Are we addressing those? Do we need to stimulate more conversation within our campaigns or our idea channels to try and draw out some of the areas that we haven't maybe surfaced that we would expect to? And that's been invaluable, to people like myself and others in the business. Another thing that we've seen as well from this functionality is it allows us ultimately to connect dots that as human beings are very, very difficult to do. And I remember running a really impactful campaign a couple of years ago before this functionality was available. And we sat at the end of the campaign and we did a real deep dive into analyze, what were the outcomes, what were the themes that came out of it. And right now, as a result of this technology, I can do that in seconds, which is incredible. It saves so much time, but it also gives something that's very impactful to our sponsors and our campaign owners. I've seen some great benefits from there. I know that with the other functionality that's being rolled out and that has been embedded, again, all of that only helps us to become more effective in our roles and to offer back more value and more insight to our business.
Yeah, thank you, Gavin. I'm really energized when I hear this type of feedback, and I'm very glad that this has become a very powerful tool in your toolbox, that it helps decision making,
Yeah,
especially when deciding where to take your roadmap next, perhaps. As you mentioned, the graph is very good at identifying
yeah,
these spots where you realize, oh, we should probably be doing more in that
yeah.
area. It's not big enough. So even the size visually, I guess the
Mhm.
size of a cluster can already be a very good first indication. Of course, provided that this is your single source of the truth.
Exactly. It kind of it breaks down that barrier to become exactly that. One of the things that we've done as a company is, we obviously run like different campaigns based on different topics and different themes. Over the last couple of years, we've driven much more kind of a focus on AI. And I know obviously the whole generative AI space has changed dramatically over the last 2 and a bit years, and to the point where every single month we see breakthroughs in that area. And last year we ran a really impactful campaign where we went out to our whole business and we said, look, generative AI is changing the world, it's changing the industry that we work within, and we need to keep a pace with that. So when we ran that campaign, we got back, many, many incredible ideas. We had more interest in that campaign than any other campaign that we've ever run. We had hundreds of comments, hundreds of likes. And what that's allowed us to kind of do, by using, this innovation graph, is to kind of better understand what the building blocks of our next campaign might be, or how that bolts into our AI strategy as well. So, without this functionality, that we would have been missing something very, very valuable.
Yeah. Maybe another question. This refers a little bit to the adoption, I guess, of the innovation graph. Was it easy for you to introduce the graph to your colleagues? And how did you go about educating
Yeah.
them regarding these
Um,
advantages?
so at the moment, it's open to a small audience of people.
Mhm.
And I think hand on heart, there's a lot more people that would love to have access to this. When I showed my colleagues this and we did a little kind of demo initially to kind of showcase what was possible, they were incredibly excited. They could see vast potential. Their eyes really lit up.
Okay, so I guess it didn't need too much introduction. You just
No,
needed to make sure
no,
that you were able
yeah,
to deploy it and that you had licenses, of
yeah,
course, for it. Yeah, I'm taking, as we're speaking, I'm taking a look at the chat and really huge thanks to Jessica, who is there in the background.
yeah.
Jessica is our product manager for Hype Ideation. So she has led the team that helped develop the innovation graph. So I'm very, very pleased to have her explain when and where these features are available, because many of them are already available. I think just one of them is meant to be released soon. So thank you, Marjorie. It's really nice to see you online, and thank you, Shrikant, for making time. I think it's late evening for you, so I really appreciate you joining us online. I think those questions have been answered. So thank you for the very practical questions. My hope and my expectation would be indeed that you start using these immediately, or that you see the immediate benefit of using these different features. Um, but maybe moving on a little bit to how you present this data, Gavin. So how do you present it in a context that involves decision making?
Yeah.
So do you invite your sponsors or your decision makers to view this together with you and you navigate through the content, or is it that you export this data in some way and
So
you
what
it's helpful that way?
Yeah, what we've looked at doing is a couple of different things. So we have had some kind of interactive discussions where we've showcased the data in real time, and obviously preview that on the platform, and then you can obviously export that data too. So we've taken kind of a combination approach depending on the audience. But I think certainly when we've shared that with different types of people and different audiences, the reaction has been the same. People get very, very excited. And I think, what a lot of organizations really, really struggle with is a lot of organizations have a lot of data and it's not necessarily organized to extract insights from and derive decisions from it. But the way that this is set up within the platform makes that easy. So, this puts you in a place where you're basically deriving business intelligence by using AI that helps make better decisions. And when we've shown that to people, they're like, wow, like we wish that we'd had this and lots of other products. So that, they're very, very happy. I think, we have some quite exciting campaigns that are coming up this year and some other work in our idea channels. And this is going to prove absolutely invaluable. And it will only continue to kind of grow and add to our suite of tools and the value that we can take from the platform.
Yeah, I'm really delighted to hear it. And I'm also thinking that you probably recluster, update your clusters every now and then, right, to reflect those changes. So after you have run a series of campaigns, or maybe that's also an open question. How frequently do you try to look again at the data or try to reorganize the data?
So I've been looking at the data on a fairly regular basis. So at the moment that varies kind of week to week and month to month.
Mm.
But this I guess over the course of the next quarter, there's going to be quite a bit to look at. We know, for example, that we're going to set up several idea channels. We're doing more work to integrate some of the functionality from Hype projects. We also have a couple of campaigns that are quite high profile coming up. So One campaign will go out to the whole organization, so that's approximately 15,000 people. So the potential from insights from that will be huge. And then we have a series of idea channels that are going to focus in on about roughly about 3,000 people. So again, the insights that we will be able to derive from there will be super powerful.
Yeah. Coming back to a point that I see here in the chat, and I think, Gavin, this also mattered a lot to you as you were adopting our solution. We inevitably talk about data privacy. This is a lot of data
Yes.
that is being exposed, right? And you want
Yeah.
to make sure that this data, of course, doesn't end up with other hype customers, who knows, or
Yeah.
maybe it is leaving really your premises. And thank you, Jessica, for answering that in the chat. So we do take your privacy very, very seriously. And we did take that into consideration. Perhaps that's why we also took a longer time to develop this feature in the first place, because the model needs to make sure that it
Yeah.
handles the data correctly. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that that will be a concern for many organizations, in terms of how they use AI, and other functionality. And I know in this particular case, just as Alana and Jessica said, this is completely secure. It doesn't go and train the model on your data. So we have absolutely no concerns about that. It's very well embedded by Hype. The privacy is world class. But we know that, for example, there are other technologies in the market that, we don't necessarily want people putting our company data into. So we've taken a very kind of proactive stance within our organization, and we have policies to handle that. And I'm sure, a lot of the people in the chat will also have those too.
Yeah. Maybe jumping to a slightly different topic, this goes more into how you manage, I guess, the ideas, but at a different level. So, Janine, thank you for your question in the chat. I just want to read it out so that everyone knows the context. So, the question is whether it's planned to develop AI tools for idea management. We look at all submit ideas regularly and provide them with feedback, especially those that were submitted via the channels. It would be nice to have an AI tool that supports here by asking people who are assigned to the ideas for an update regularly. Yes, indeed. So maybe, Janine, you're referring more to a moderation function, maybe a coach in the true sense of coaching those submissions and helping them go to the next level. It is something that we are thinking about. We're actually thinking about lots of angles to tackle the issue that you described. So one could be maybe to provide comments, hints underneath the submission. So if it hasn't, if it's received a piece of feedback but hasn't answered that feedback, to prompt the user, hey, would you like to answer that? So more like a community manager, but this can also be expanded into other areas. For instance, you could think about the thinking hats method, right? Maybe you're familiar with de Bono's with Edward de Bono's work, so we can try to take perspectives on the ideas. You might want a a factual perspective, or a creative perspective, and so forth. That can indeed be automated. So we're looking for good ways to provide this type of functionality to you. And actually, this is a good moment to also ask you if you'd like to be involved in our research, if you'd like to pre-test or beta test some of the features that we're developing. Please do reach out to Jessica, to me, to anyone in the Hype team, and we're very, very happy to bring you into the process. I know, Gavin, that you are also a very active submitter on our Insights platform. So perhaps we could talk a little bit about that, about how we also exchange ideas that ultimately result in what could be quite a big feature like the one that you're using today.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the Hype Insights platform is amazing. I think that Hype have done something very, very progressive there. So, for those of you that don't know, they have a great platform where you can come forward and make suggestions about, Hype's products, whether that's ideation, partnering projects, and you can engage with employees from Hype and the community. And, I know personally that they've been very receptive to feedback where we've made some suggestions, where we've been very excited about, some of the functionality. And then we've also been doing some work with, other organizations and we see, their tech coming into the space. So, for example, like tech from Google or OpenAI or others. And we've reached out to Hype. We've made some idea suggestions there, and those have been, selected to move forward, which is absolutely incredible. But what's really kind of cool is, that community has so much knowledge and expertise, and that goes across industry. And I think what's amazing is that many of us wrestle with the same kind of challenges around how we extract insights, how do we report on that, how do we show value to our leadership teams, how do we take some of the challenges that keep them awake at night, and how do we find pathways to solving those. And I think what's really, really cool is, when we can come forward to the Insights platform and say, this little change in the platform could, save me a vast amount of time, or it could help me to show a totally different dimension of value. And Oana and Jessica and others, from the product team, are very receptive to that. They've been absolutely incredible to work with.
You're very kind, Gavin, and yeah, we're very glad when we can actually develop things that are meaningful to you. A lot of times, our roadmaps will contain, of course, a combination of features that
Yeah.
we believe are beneficial. We also, of course, look into the marketplace, but we're especially excited if we can bring forward a feature that will help solve a problem that is already persistent within your organization. To everyone who is currently joining us live who might not be familiar with the Hype Insights platform, this is a platform that is strictly dedicated to you, our customers, and we have a variety of channels where you can submit this feedback to us. So, for example, if you have a feature request or you just like to discuss a use case that has emerged in your organization, we really make an effort to review that, to give you feedback, and in the best case scenario, to include it into our roadmap. What's important to know is that the more customers, so the more use cases we see for a particular feature, the more likely we are to prioritize it. We do our best, of course, we cannot work on everything simultaneously, but you are a voice that is extremely important to us. So I would encourage you to do join us online or to approach your project leaders. That's also something we often do. So we receive your requests through your project leaders at Hype. So you communicate your issues to them, and then they funnel those over to us. Perfect. Well, just because we have about 10 minutes left, I'd really like to open the floor for any questions you might have for Gavin. I certainly have a lot of questions for him because Gavin is really experienced and he has been utilizing our product in different ways over the years. Gavin, you've also seen quite a lot of success, so some breakthrough ideas coming from the
Yeah.
platform as well. Yeah. So I'm wondering, you feel free to unmute yourselves and to chat with us directly, or otherwise I'll take a look at the conversation as well. But yeah, please take the opportunity to speak with Gavin directly. Of course, you can also approach him after our webinar today. But perhaps something from his experience has already
Kevin,
intrigued
this
you.
is Shrikant Dey from Reliance Industries, India. Thanks, Anna. Thanks, Kevin, for the great presentation. My quick question here is that the whole innovation management space is about engaging people and motivating them to contribute. How AI is
Shrikant, I
helping in
apologize.
this?
We can't hear you very well, so it's breaking up a little bit. Is it possible to move closer, perhaps, to the
Audible?
microphone? Let's try
Am I
again.
audible now?
Now it seems to be better. Gavin, are you hearing Shrikant?
Yeah,
Is
I
it
think you I
Hello?
think you was asking yeah,
okay?
I think
Yeah,
you were asking a question maybe about how you engage with people.
yeah. So my question is that the whole genesis about innovation management is involving people and inspiring them to contribute.
Yeah.
With all these AI tools, have you, Gavin, seen that the involvement and engagement has increased or decreased? Is it assisting more and more people to contribute to the platform?
Yeah, so that's a fantastic question. So my answer is I believe it's contributing in a positive way. So what I would say is this is supercharging our efforts. Um, so if you look at, I guess, you know, people typically in the past might say, well, I'm not sure I have an idea that I want to come forward with. Maybe I have a comment, maybe I can add a like to someone else's idea, and that's great. But the AI functionality that Oana has showcased allows people to, obviously grow their ideas. So they can start to add in their idea, they can start to improve it. The coach functionality helps with that. And I think we will see stronger ideas as a result of that. The other thing, I guess, that also happens as a result as well is, we know that there are, blind spots in, some of the campaigns that we run where we might expect to receive ideas around a particular topic. And by looking at the innovation graph, we can start to build up a picture of where those blind spots are. So we can try and surface those by adding in more momentum into our communications around our campaigns and try and tease out particular groups of people that might come forward with ideas around those topics. And, in the past, that was quite difficult to do. But now, as a result of the AI functionality that's been added to the platform, that is 100 times easier. So I think what we will start to see is a noticeable, improvement in engagement in certain areas.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Gavin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shrikant. So I hope that gives you a little bit to work off of. Certainly, we have to work on both fronts, right? So we use these mechanisms to supercharge our decision making. We show results, and that also gives back energy to the crowd. Yeah. Any other questions for us, for Gavin? Again, feel free to unmute yourselves. Otherwise, I'm still keeping an eye on the chat. If not, maybe Gavin, I have a final question for you.
Sure.
What excites you about the future? So where do you think we can go from here? So what other, in the best cases, say that you would, you could wish for anything. What would you wish for in this realm of embedding a little bit of AI functionality? We can dream big today. It's
that
okay.
is a fantastic question. Okay, so I'm quite an optimistic person, and I think that, we obviously have a lot of incredible people working for our company. So we're an organization of 15,000 people. We have amazing people working for our organization that can do pretty incredible things. So I want to empower them and make it as easy as possible for them to make a difference. And I think like this platform democratizes that. It allows them to interact and come forward with ideas and to help us solve real life, real problems. The second side of that with AI is that I believe that AI will only help us to deliver on that. I want to kind of take and give people the opportunity to be a part of that. What we will start to see, I think, is more and more breakthroughs with AI. And, there's not a single month that goes by without a significant breakthrough. So I think that will make it easier for people to interact. It will make it easier to make, more informed decisions. And, I think that the future is a very hopeful one. I think that there's a lot of potential that we can unlock by using this platform.
I'm also very much a technological optimist. So I toggle between being a realist and an optimist, but I think optimism is a really good way to move forward. That's what also inspires us to develop these types of features, and I'm sure we can help automate many more things and help those breakthroughs happen. I mean, the worst is when we get caught up in all that clutter, right? That's a shame. It shouldn't be that way. So we should be able to really leverage all those bits of knowledge. Perfect. Well, if there are no more questions or maybe feedback for Gavin, I'd really like to thank everyone for attending today, for being live with us. I certainly hope that you will revisit this webinar if you'd like a refresher on the features that are already available to you. So we showcased about 6 of them today. Do get in touch with us if you're curious about more behind the scenes details. But in the meantime, let's stay in touch. And thank you again for spending your morning or perhaps evening with us. We look forward to bringing many more amazing features over to you. Thanks again, Gavin, for your time. And we'll see everybody again soon.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you so much, everybody. Really interesting discussion.